Okay, I'd like to call the meeting tonight, March 25th, special call board meeting to order at this time. And we'd ask Mr. Terry to give us an invocation. Amen. I'd like to ask, before we approve the agenda, that we remove the closed session. All that closed session, just remove that. Motion for that. Or that. Could I have a motion to do that?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Ms. Brenda and second by Mr. Henry. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Okay, going on down the agenda, information items, PSRC pre-K-8 grade transitions to Plan A following the spring break. Dr. Robert Locklear and Mr. Bobby Locklear.
Chairman Lowry, Superintendent Williams, and board members, tonight we're just going to give you a brief overview of our Plan A transition for pre-K through 8th grade.
Chairman Lowry, Superintendent Williams, and board members. On March 11th, Governor Cooper signed into law Senate Bill 220, which was the Reopen Our Schools Act, which was a compromise between his office and the General Assembly, which said basically we're going to reopen, we have the option to reopen schools under Plan A. So for the public schools of Robeson County, part of our proposal is that students in grades pre-K through 8th grade will have the option to report to school for synchronous learning Monday through Thursday. We will remain with asynchronous learning on Friday for all of our students in pre-K through 8th. There's no longer a need for us to have an A and B schedule because we are requesting that everyone come back on a weekly basis. It's important to remember that we still have the virtual option available for students who need or who are requesting that virtual option. We're requesting that the deadline for parents to opt in or opt out be April the 12th, and that we cannot make changes, or parents cannot make changes after that date. Under the new guidance for us reopening under Plan A, there's no longer the need for the physical distancing like it was under Plan B. So there are some leeways in the number of students and the amount of space that must be between each student in the classroom. Same thing for the buses. There's no longer that need for one child per seat. But we do need to realize for transportation, we are going to try to minimize the number of students that are on each bus. PSRC, although the guidance has said we no longer have to check temperatures or do symptom screenings as people enter the building, one of our protocols is we are going to maintain that for both students and faculty and staff. We're going to continue that on a daily basis as individuals enter the building. We're going to stick by our plan that parents and visitors are not allowed in the building. The only people who will be in the building will be either students or PSRC employees. We're also going to continue to require that students and faculty and staff wear face coverings at all times while they're in the building. And we are going to continue to support having that additional PPE and face coverings for those people who are individuals who may not have those as they enter our building. As I've already stated, for transportation, same thing for children 5 and older. Anyone who is riding our bus, they are required to have a face mask on. Although the guidance does say that we can put 72 kids on the bus, we are not going to do that. We have told our principals to figure out routes where we're minimizing the number of students that are on a bus. In most instances, schools may have situations where there could be a possibility of 2 kids on a seat, but for the most part, we're going to try to stick to the 1 child per seat. Child nutrition for grades pre-K through 8. We're still going to require that our cafeterias remain closed. Those meals will be delivered to the classroom as we've done in the past. We will still maintain Friday meal service for those students that are remote. A drive-through option is available for families to come through and pick up their meals there. For our students who are in the building, on Fridays, they will get a 3-day meal pack. On Thursdays, they will get a 3-day meal package to take home with them, as opposed to the 7 that they were receiving when we were on an A-B schedule. For high schools, we will not alter their child nutrition program at all. They will remain as it is currently. And I'm gonna turn it over to Dr. Locklear, and he's gonna refer to some of the curriculum side.
Well, Mr. Quay, can he make a clarification for the public?
Yes.
Will you describe synchronous and asynchronous? And this is for the public.
That at the end there, Doc.
Okay.
Okay. So as it relates to recess and physical education, recess will be staggered in small groups for students. And the good news is teachers can choose physical education activities that limit the use of shared equipment and any close contact between students. So we've advised the principals to please take the students outside, let them get fresh air, because distancing. If the playground equipment is used, it must be disinfected after each use. As it relates to high schools, we're still going to operate on the same schedule. So all high school students grades 9 through 12 will continue in Plan B, operating on an AA, which is Monday, Tuesday. BB, which is Thursday, Friday, Wednesday is their asynchronous day. Monday, Tuesday will be synchronous, and Thursday, Friday will be synchronous. And high school students will continue to be required to wear face coverings and adhere to the physical distancing guidelines. All staff will be required to wear face coverings in the buildings and in the offices. Okay, so the question, Dr. Manuel, requested we go over is the synchronous teaching and learning day. So parents, please listen, because this is very important. As it relates to synchronous teaching learning day for pre-K 8, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Synchronous remote learning day is intended to operate in real time on the remote learning schedule, providing students with required login times. The expectations and rigor will mirror face-to-face instruction, and virtual students will have a full school day and be required to participate in face-to-face synchronous learning. Let me repeat that. The expectations and rigor will mirror face-to-face instruction, and virtual students will have a full school day and be required to participate in face-to-face synchronous online learning. Common methods of synchronous online learning include video conferencing, teleconferencing, live chatting, and live stream lectures that must be viewed in real time. As it relates to asynchronous, and for our pre-K 8 students, that will be Fridays. And for high schools, Wednesdays. Asynchronous learning day does not require real-time interaction. Instead, the content is available online for students to access when it best suits their schedules, and assignments are completed to deadlines. Common methods of asynchronous online learning include self-guided lesson modules, pre-recorded video content, virtual library, lecture notes, and online discussion boards or social media platforms. Are there any questions?
Mr. Chairman, Dr. Locklear?
Yes.
Could you repeat the portion about when it suits their schedule?
Yes, for asynchronous? Yes, ma'am, I'll be
Their
happy.
schedule.
For asynchronous teach and learning day, content is available online for students to access when it best suits their schedules. So they have the flexibility at their convenience. And that's why we've asked our principals to make sure the teachers are available from 9 until 1:30 on those Fridays and those Wednesdays for questions, office hours, for any questions the kids may have. And they do a good job emailing their teachers and asking questions if they need clarification.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Terry and then Mr. Henry.
Essentially, with synchronous learning, you can think of it as people being in the same place at the same time.
Thank you.
Right.
But with asynchronous learning, and when he says they have the flexibility to do it on their own time, that doesn't necessarily mean there's no deadlines. So if there's an assignment on an asynchronous day, you're gonna have a deadline, but you can do it, you can work on your own time to work toward that deadline.
And that's why we said assignments are completed to deadlines, and the teachers give those using the Canvas or the Google Classroom. The students know when those deadlines are.
Okay, Mr. Henry?
I have two questions. I was asked if the high school could be converted to have the asynchronous day the same as the pre-8 on Fridays. Could move it from Wednesday to Fridays. And also, my other question is, teachers that are working virtual, would have to bring them back into the classroom?
We did hear from our high school principals on the possibility of moving Wednesday to Friday, and help me to remember, majority of the principals wanted it at Wednesday. So we did ask that question and that option, and they said to leave it on Wednesday. What was the second question?
Was teachers that are working virtual, would they be required to come back into a classroom setting?
If they have the medical release form, then the answer to that question is no. Melissa?
Yes, sir. So anyone who has medical reasoning, vulnerable situations, and they've already turned in their information, if they're now working virtually for that reason, then they will continue like they are.
Another, since the teacher's not coming back, if that's virtual, what does it look like with our subs and stuff, with some of our students and stuff, not gonna have teachers and stuff in the classroom? What it look like with the subs?
So right now, we are faring pretty well. Some days are harder than others, but at this point, some days teacher assistants are subbing in the teacher's place when we can't find a substitute. And we are pulling from every angle that we can, and we're bringing new substitutes on all the time. And we do ask, if you know anyone who would like to be a substitute teacher, please call us, Miss Adrienne Harden, or you can call anyone in HR, and we will guide you to help you get through that program and get the screenings you need, and we will get you to work. So we are asking for all subs, anyone who's interested in subbing. But right now, we're doing fairly well.
Melissa, if you remember, we met with principals this week, and we said if you have low ridership on your buses, then look at those monitors as another work group that could help sub in the classrooms.
Absolutely.
That's good.
Dr. Williamson, let me go back, first, the asynchronous part, and this is Wednesdays for high schools and Fridays for the K-8. So there's no set time this to occur other than the 9 to 1:30. And if a child would go on the computer, say at 10 o'clock, there would be information there that they could access and do whatever is asked them to be. But there's no formal program on those days.
That's if it's asynchronous,
Right.
it's tied to the calendar, because we had a lot of questions around the calendar. If it is a calendar teacher workday, that is asynchronous. Students are working on their own with deadlines, assignments that's either in Canvas or teacher-generated assignments. So if it is a calendar teacher workday, it's asynchronous, students working on their own. If it is a weather day,
Okay, if, could add a little bit to that, Dr. Williamson, because that's where I've gotten the calls. Like this Friday, next Friday, it's a teacher work day. So there's no formal teaching going on remotely for kids to be involved in class because it is a teacher work day. Now, that child can go on their own and look up stuff and deal with it from that standpoint, because that has created some confusion for us on that situation. Okay, apologize, go ahead.
no, sir, and those assignments are in Canvas.
Yes, Canvas and Google Classroom, yes, sir.
Okay,
And Ms. Craig, if I could, we did review that on Monday with the principals to go over exactly what asynchronous as it relates to teacher work day, inclement weather, and there was one more. as those are the two key, inclement weather.
And if you could touch, Dr. Williamson, on inclement weather like we had the other week. We were in school that day, it was a remote day. Now, how is that gonna differ from what we would have next Friday, which is a work day?
Right, next Friday's a calendar work day, asynchronous. Students working on their own, no direct instruction, face-to-face or virtual. If it is an inclement weather day, then that is an asynchronous day, in real time, not face-to-face, but online. And now they may operate on a modified schedule, or they could teach the 4 day. But again, if it's an inclement weather day, it's in real time, it's a regular work day, just working from home. That's different.
Dr. Manuel?
And you may not have this information, and this is not going to affect how I vote, but it just, for the public to know, and everyone here, I guess they understand, it's very difficult for teachers to teach kids at home and in the classroom. If you don't believe me, talk to a teacher, and I'm not sure you'll be able to go see them do it, but it's a very difficult task. With that in mind, I'm curious, what percentage would you say overall our kids in the last couple of weeks are remote? And I guess this is going to make me try to understand this burden that's on teachers having to do both. About what percent's remote now? And I guess maybe, I don't know if this would affect it or not, but what percentage of those kids, of our kids, the last couple of weeks have gone remote?
Can I add to that question, if you don't mind, Dr. Mann?
I'm sorry?
Can I add to that, or?
Yes, sir, go ahead.
If you don't mind.
Go ahead.
So I would be interested in seeing that, as well as the trend, where we started versus where we are now.
Good point.
Our intent is to have some of that data for you on the 20th. I'll ask those questions at the last board meeting. The last time we reviewed that information, it's about 49% that was face-to-face at the start, and 51. It's pretty much in the same place. It balanced out because kids continue to opt in and out. So again, we're looking at about 51% that's remote and 49 face-to-face. It'll vary from school to school. Some are obviously higher than others. It's been pretty constant, but we'll have those numbers, absolute numbers for you at the 20.
And,
It has not shifted that much since.
yeah, and to follow up, Mr. Chair, I'm hoping that with all the monies made available to our system, that we can help teachers in some way with this, if it's nothing but staff with the cleaning, because they're also cleaning. I'm not saying they're doing it all, but they're having to sanitize. Any teacher would sanitize with the COVID threat. And it's very difficult, and all of you, and I know you do, it's a task for our teachers, but they're committed, and our principals are committed to doing their best.
They're doing an outstanding job.
Yes.
We've been in buildings, it is amazing how they have adapted and how well that is going. It's just, when you enter that classroom and you see that teacher operate in real time, face to face, and then back to the remote learning, it is an amazing sight to see.
Yeah.
They're doing exceptionally well with that.
Mr. Gentry?
I need some clarification with what we are looking at tonight as an action item as compared to what pre-K 8 is currently doing. My understanding was, and maybe I was confused, that pre-K through 8 was in person Monday through Thursday and then virtual on Friday. Was I correct in that interpretation?
That's correct for a Group A. And then the next week, there was another group came in, which was Group B, and they were in person from Monday through Thursday, and then everyone again was virtual that Friday. So it rotated each week. You had a new group each week for 4 days. This year, now will be pre-K 8. We'll all be there Monday through Thursday, and then that Friday will be virtual. Mr. Vontae?
Got a question. Are we within guidelines currently of what we got going on with our school system as far as the kids going to school, AA, BB, AB? Are we?
Yes, yes.
So we are with the guidelines, okay.
We're driven by
Oh,
Senate.
yeah, okay, yeah, I just want to make sure.
Mr. Terry?
So with the temperature checks, somebody said that, I think it maybe Mr. Bobby said that, the state's not requiring that anymore, and we're gonna continue.
Right, based upon the new strong school guidance that was released yesterday, temperature checks and symptom screenings are no longer required. But we decided as the reentry team that we're gonna continue that process for staff, students, and it is required at all athletic events.
Good,
And that is a recommendation from the Department of Health and Human Services.
good.
We're gonna make it mandatory.
Mr. Craig, if I may?
Yes, sir.
To clarify, one of the points for Mr. Brewer about why do we do AA, Wednesday, and BB, that Wednesday was a cleaning day, because we've got a different group of kids coming in on Thursday. So that's why part of the reason that high school decided to stay AA, BB and not have Friday off is because our reentry plan called for that Wednesday to be a cleaning day, because you've got two different groups in the building.
Mr. Chairman,
Brenda?
Superintendent Williamson, cleansing will still take place however, so that they're clear on that also, because, we get things.
Absolutely. Class changes, we're still gonna wipe down, clean, spray all during the day, and then that deep spraying at the end of the day. All that will continue.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Mr. Gentry?
Mr. Craig, I have two concerns. I realize that the infection rate is on a downward trend. And I'm going to make a general comment here about the way our society tends to approach things. I'm not saying our school system mirrors that, but we are part of the society. And that is, I think often there is a rush to judgment. There's a rush to assume that we're in the clear and that we can take down our guard and go on about business as usual, when that is not the case. And the second concern is that the proximity to the end of the school year, as we sit here this evening, I don't know how many school days there are remaining. Can someone state how many school days are remaining on the calendar?
I think about 35. When I did my count, I think 35, then you just track the 7 Fridays that you'll take off and do remotely, came up with 28, so give or take.
Okay, and along with that concern is that this is the start, as I understand it, after Easter break. And our history that we do have that presents the data shows that whenever there is a holiday or a break, there is a renewed outbreak of cases. And that if this happens, I personally believe we're opening the door to some problems. My opinion is that we need to proceed as we are doing for the remainder of this school year. We've been so far taking actions on the side of caution, and I would like to see us continue to do that.
Mr. Gentry, we can't do that because Senate Bill 220 says we shall return on a Plan A schedule for grades. And really what the law says is grades kindergarten through 5. We're doing kindergarten through 8, but the law says kindergarten through 5. Local boards of education shall provide in-person instruction under Plan A. So we don't have a choice in that matter with kindergarten through 5. We've got to have the in-person learning Plan A.
Okay. Ms. Eric and then Mr. Vontae.
And I was just gonna mention, the reason the reentry team chose pre-K 8 is because of all the various grade configurations we have. We have several schools that are pre-K 8 So it would be very confusing to have part of the school under one plan and another part of the school in a different plan. And that's why collectively we are saying pre-K 8.
And the other reason is because of transportation.
Correct.
That we can manage the transportation part and get to school at a reasonable time.
Adding to what Ms. Erica said, we got 3 or 4 K-8 schools. We got several K-6 schools. You would have 2 schedules and 1 grade on a separate schedule from everybody else. So our configurations are just different. Anything else? Dr. Robert?
Also for the record, for grades 6 through 8, we had to request, permission from the Department of Health and Human Services. We have sent that request in to utilize 6 through 8.
To do that. Svante?
Got another question. So if we go K through 8, everybody is adhering to the same rules as far as I would read it again. A, we can have up to 72 people on the bus, 72 students on the bus. Also, limited, it said, it do not require the number of students in the classroom, reducing the usually, so we can have how many people want in the classroom and everything. I just want to make that clarification. That's right? That's correct. K through 8th grade.
But there was a comment made about not, even though the 72 could be there. Now, tell me if I'm right, we weren't going to do that.
Yeah, well, I just want to.
Okay, we were not going to do that.
Scholarship, and unless there's a major change, our numbers dictate that we would not have to do that. The law said early on that if you have to have 2 to a seat, try to have siblings sit together, if possible. So we've always had that right to do that. But looking at our ridership, we don't think that, we know we're not gonna have 72 in the max those buses. We'll probably increase some, but we're not to that degree.
Mr. Henry?
Also, I think it's important that the public understands, and correct me if I'm wrong, our students still have the virtual option. They can stay virtual.
That's correct. And the last way to opt in or out, has been mentioned, is the start date for what we're gonna ask you for tonight, April the 12th.
Another question, what would the parents have to do to opt their kids out? I mean, do they contact the school and tell them they're not coming? What's the procedure? What's the process?
Yes, they contact, the school.
And that was one reason of having this meeting tonight, because of next week being in school and people being at school, our people being at school, that if parents wanted to make adjustments, it gives them time to do that before the Easter break. Mr. Bobby, let me ask, we had ordered a bunch of these shields, and I think we reordered shields. Do you know if we have any schools now that's requesting the shields for students that that don't have them because we're out or anything like that? Can you give us any input on where that's at right now?
Okay, the strong stool guidance again, made a recommendation that physical barriers are no longer required, but we are under the stance that we're still gonna require desk shields.
Right.
So an additional 10,000 was ordered. I'm anticipating them any day now. So, right now, the number is about 4,000 additional desk shields have been requested.
Okay.
And Mr. Chairman, I really want to commend our staff, the principals and the teachers and the janitors and everybody for a really good job they're doing. I've been watching everybody's Facebook page, going to the different schools and things, watching the Facebook page, and even the PSRC Facebook page and sharing things. And I really love what I see. I love that teamwork taking place system-wide.
Any questions?
I do want to ask, Mr. Grady, our attorney, again, for further clarification. We're mandated K-5. All along, we've included pre-K, and that's worked well for us. But then the language says that the local board can approve 612, and that's why we're asking for pre-K 8 tonight, because we do have that option, correct?
Yes, we do, and that has to be, that plan as far as the, I guess, 6A has to be approved by DHHS.
And again, Dr. Lockley has already said we've submitted that information. And what they have said is they're not going to not approve any plan. They want you to submit the plan so they'll have the data.
Okay, Mr. Randy?
My question is,
Dr. Williams, is that your recommendation to the board tonight?
It is gonna be.
I call for the question.
All right, well,
Second.
let's, it's on information, so let's move on down to the action item. And if there's no more discussion, we'll move to the action item. At that point now, Mr. Randy, right? For the question, do we have a motion, to,
Motion, Mr. Chairman.
okay,
Second.
motion action?
Pre-K through 8.
Have a motion for pre-K through 8 to go to Plan A, by Mr. Mike, and second by Mr. Henry. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Aye. Okay, let's raise our hands. All those in favor, please raise your hand, right hand. Okay, all those opposed? Okay, 7-3 that's in favor, so the motion passes. And we will go pre-K through 8, starting April 12th.
April the 12th, great. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Caviezel, appearance.
Mr. Craig, do we need to do the same thing on high school, or is that good?
No,
I think high schools were good.
Yeah.
High schools were good because it's staying the same. Yes, sir, right. We're good with high schools. Yes, sir. Okay?
need a motion, Judge.
Yes, sir. One comment that, Ms. Patty did send out some information about some, webinars and workshops, so please look back through your emails if you're interested in those things and just get back with her. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Randy to adjourn, second by Mr. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.